important and the benefits of the transfusion. So just to define, so we all know that using your own blood is better than using donor blood or allogeneic blood for health benefits. And I will start first. Today we're going to discuss about autotransfusion or autologous transfusion using a device called Hemafuse. I'll take you through understanding what is autotransfusion. So basically, autotransfusion is donating your own blood and giving it back to yourself. So we find that this has a lot of health benefits. One of the most important one is there's no infection transmission. Remember, this is your own blood. So whatever is in the system, you do not get any other blood. And then issue of immune suppression or immunological reaction are all reduced, or they're not there at all because it's your own blood in the first place. And one tend to get all the benefits or all the components that are within the system of your body, and you find somebody get to heal very faster. Study has actually showed that most people who get their own blood tend to heal faster and tend to have a shorter hospital duration. And there are several surgical procedures that you can use this particular device on. For instance, the device that I'm going to discuss today is intraoperative autotransfusion. We have 3 types of autotransfusion, whereby you can have a pre-donation, you go donate before you actually go into surgery, and you can have the intraoperation during the surgical procedure. We can be able to pick and collect this blood, store it well, and give it back to the client. And also we have the post-operative. So I will basically touch on intraoperative autotransfusion. And the surgical procedure that this particular device can be used, it can be used in general surgery, whereby if you have a ruptured spleen, ruptured liver, or even in the event of a road traffic accident and we have pooling of blood and this blood is collected somewhere, it can still be used for, it can still be collected by this particular device. We have seen a lot of obstetric and gynecologist procedure, especially the ruptured ectopic pregnancy, where there's a pool of blood in the abdomen, and this device can be used to collect the blood and give it back to the patient. We also have seen it's been used in some of the orthopedic surgery, like open hip reduction or total hip transplant, where that bleeding can be used, that blood can be collected and given it back to the client. Now, I want us to see the device itself, and I will jump into the demonstration of the device. So the Hemafuse device comes in 3 parts. So it does come with a pump, which is, when it comes in, it comes non-sterile, and it needs to be sterilized, and it can be used up to 25 times. And the second one is the filter, and we have the accessory kit. So the filter and the accessory kit, which comes in already sterile, and it can be used as a single-use device. All these come pre-packed in a sterile pack. As you can see, when we are bringing the Hemafuse, it's quite a simple procedure and straightforward, where blood is filtered to ensure it is safe, collected, and then transfused back to the client. So I will jump right back into the demonstration of the device, first assembly, then operation of the device. So on my table, I have the device laid down. This particular device, when you buy the device comes with a reusable pump, which is decontaminated, sterilized by autoclaving, and it can be used up to 25 times. And then what I talked about, the filter and the accessory kits. The accessory kits come as an inlet and outlet accessory, and when they come already pre-packed, sterile, and it can be used as a single-use device. So all the filter and the accessory kits, both inlet and outlet, are used as a single device per patient, per procedure. So I will start introducing the pump, which I said is reusable. This particular pump, when it comes as 4 parts. not sterile, so you need to sterilize it before you start using it. And it's what we're having a collecting barrel where this is where the blood will be collecting. And always this autoclave tape is applied after use so that it's seen or it's known this has been autoclaved and it is safe to use during the procedure. And then we have a plunger, and the plunger is the one that is used to pull in and push out the blood from the collecting barrel. And you find the plunger comes in also with an O-ring, and the O-ring goes into the plunger to ensure there is no trickling of the blood and give you that friction that you need to collect the blood. And then we have the nozzle, which is the one that will go directly to the patient using the inlet accessory to pull in the blood, to collect the blood into the system. We do have the single-use devices, and the single-use accessories, we have the filter. The filter, the unique part about it has a microfiltration on both sides, and it has a single valve, which does not allow the blood, once it has passed, to go back. So we have a single valve that does not allow the blood. Once the blood passes through, it will not go back even if you push it back because of the valve that is here. We have now the inlet and the outlet accessory. So the inlet accessory, I think this is quite common in the surgical field. We have the Yanka tip, which is used or helps you to navigate in picking that blood into the surgical, from the surgical site. And then we have the suction connector, which connects to the Yanka tip, and we have a small tubing. The small tubing is basically to give you that flexibility to allow you to pick the blood even at the farthest point at the surgical site without any discomfort. And we have the outlet accessory. The outlet accessory are the one that connect to the collecting barrel and allow you to push the blood from the collecting barrel into the blood bag. So one of the things that the device doesn't come in and the hospital has to provide is the collecting or the transfusion bag. So the transfusion bag, this is a demo transfusion bag that comes in with anticoagulants to allow you to store your blood safely without it forming any clot and safely transfer this blood back to your clients. So the outlets accessory, we have a long tubing that allows the blood to pass all the way to the blood bag. And then we have a stopcock. So a stopcock is basically a three-way valve that is commonly used within the surgical theaters. And we have the stopcock connector that connects the stopcock, and we have the spike or the blood bag spike that goes directly to the blood bag and allow blood to go into the blood bag. So I want to simply start our assembly process so people can understand how to easily, and it's quite an easy assembly of this device. So we'll start assembling our pump first. So when you are taking your plunger, put your O-ring at the plunger, and you find we do have a groove for the plunger that also allow you, when you're thinking about cleaning it up, it allows you to pop it out very fast, and it gives you a click sound once it's fixed. And you take the plunger with your O-ring and put it in the blood in the collecting barrel. The good thing about the device, it only be fixed one way. It cannot go on the opposite. So if I fix it on the wrong way, it will not go in. So where we have applied our autoclave tape is where we put our plunger to go in. And then we'll talk about the filtration to ensure that nothing or any impurity or any substance that is not allowed to go into the blood does not allow. So we have this filter. The filter, which I say has a one-way valve. So where the one-way valve is where it goes in. So we put our filter right in to actually have it there, and then put our plunger. So with our plunger there, we have, look like a big syringe. So we have our pump ready for use. And with this pump, we need to set in our inlet accessory that goes directly to our client or to our patient on the surgical bed. And you find we're having the Yanka tip, the small tubing, and we have the suction connector. So as I say, I will say, glue goes to glue, whereby you have your suction connector connecting to a Yanka tip. Ensure you connect it very well so that it's not loosely connected, and then have your short tubing connecting to the suction connector. And you find and ensure it's well fitted as well, so that it's not loosely, and you find it's the inlet accessory is actually ready. And this, all of it will be put at the tip of the nozzle. Once we have quite a bit of the nozzle going in, and you find what I talk about the flexibility, the small tubing actually allow you and bends and make it comfortable for you to use it and take the blood within the surgical site. The next one, we'll take the long tubing. We do have an opening from the collecting barrel that allow whichever blood has been picked here to move to the blood bag, and you take your one end of your long tubing and put it. When you're looking at it, there's a bit of a groove, so you want to ensure the tube has gone as far as where the groove is. At least that assures you that it is well fixed and it will not come out, or it will not cause you any issue when you're using the device, and you'll be more comfortable. After that, what I always advise, it is really important to understand the use of the three-way valves or the stopcock connector. So the stopcock, which is the three-way valve, usually have an off sign. So the off sign, this off sign, basically where it sits, it means that particular point or that particular opening is blocked. So understanding the stopcock really helps you in operation of the device. So whenever the stop sign is, means that particular side is blocked. So if I put it there, it means this hole here is blocked. If I shift it here, it means I have blocked that side. If I shift it there, it means I've blocked here. If I shift it at 45% or 45 degrees, then it means I have blocked all the holes and nothing will go in or out of the stopcock. So it is important to align this. So we have our stopcock connector, ensure it is on the same line, or you put it in a straight line, in short. So you have that particular kit, or that's the stopcock kits aligned like that. So we have our blood spike, and we have the stopcock connector, all of them connecting to the stopcock itself at a straight line to allow or to have that easy use of this when you're navigating the off sign with it. And this goes directly at the end of the tube, the long tubing. And then since this is the point where the blood will be coming out, going to the blood bag, and I'm going to use my dummy blood bag, and I will put this on the blood bag and say, now my system is ready for use. It's quite simple. It might seem long because I'm demonstrating it, but in actual use, you can actually assemble this within 5 minutes or less than. The more you use it, the faster it is for you to assemble the device, and it becomes more comfortable the more number of times you're using it. So as I'm saying now, this particular device is ready to use in that particular surgical procedure. Now, a minimum of 3 people is needed in a surgical theater to use the device. So you need either the surgeon, depending on the dynamic of the team in that particular hospital. So either you need the surgeon or the surgeon assistant, or you need the scrub, you also need the scrub nurse or the scrub nurse assistant, and you need the anesthesiology or the anesthesiology assistant. That's why I say depending on the team dynamic that is existing in that particular hospital. So you only need a minimum of 3 people who are trained on how to use the device to operate this device. So you need 2 people who are sterile, that is the surgeon and the scrub nurse, and you need 1 person who will be navigating the blood bag and the stopcock who is not sterile, and this probably will be the anesthesiology team. Now, I am sitting here alone. I would like to call my colleagues who are sitting here with me to help me in demonstrating the device so that you can see how comfortable it is in operation of the device in an actual theater where we have to talk to one another. So let me call upon my colleagues to come and help me here. So I will put this box just to elevate my surgical site, and we assume this is our patient with blood inside to operate on. And I said we need one who is sterile and another one who is not. And 2 people need to be sterile, and 1 person doesn't really need to be sterile because they will be operating the side that is not closest to the patient. Sterility is really important during a surgical procedure. So I will take the role of the scrub nurse, and I will request one of my colleagues to take a role of the the surgeon, and one of them will take a role of the anesthesiology. So one of my colleagues, remember, when you're operating the device, you need to ensure you are talking to one another so that no accident happen, and you need to tell somebody once you're ready to start operating. So let's assume we have a pool of blood on my side. This is the surgical side, and we have blood already pooling. It's really important to have clot management. So clot management comes as one of the most important things that you need to start or think about when you want to operate the device. So what I always advise the team that are using the device, they need to have a sterile gauze, and this sterile gauze can actually be wrapped around the handkerchief to avoid any clot clogging up the handkerchief. For some of us who have used this in theater, we know there's a lot of clog up of the handkerchief sometimes when you're doing suctioning. Or you can easily just remove those clots if they're huge, or you can just put a gauze on top of the blood and suck the blood, put the handkerchief on top. Or you can just do a 4x4 side to remove. All this is usually done once you need to operate on the device. Now, my colleague on this side will be the surgeon. So the surgeon's work, or what you agree as a team, usually he's the first person who is so close to the site of bleeding, or the surgical or the surgeon assistant. So they know the site where bleeding is or where the pooling of blood is. So usually he will be navigating the handkerchief by ensuring now this one is wrapped in and dipped in the blood. Always we advise ensure that handkerchief is submerged into the blood so that you do not introduce any air in the system. I will navigate as the scrub nurse. I will navigate the plunger and pulling in and pushing out, and then I will have my colleague on this side who will be navigating the blood bag. So one of the most important things is understanding how you are operating the stopcock, where this off sign here means this side is blocked, this off sign, whatever it is. And another thing is ensuring that you're rocking the blood to ensure the anticoagulant mixed with the blood that is there. Now, I can see my friend is afraid of touching the water. It's not really blood, so you can still touch it.
I just have to make sure.
So once the surgeon say we do have bleeding and we've assembled the device, then you say, oh, there's bleeding, and the surgeon will dip this. And you say, ready to pull? I will ask, is it okay? Do I pull the blood in? And he'll tell me to pull in. So I will pull the blood into the system. So notice how I hold this particular device and closely pushing it, but I'm not using any energy or any force, and slowly this particular blood is coming into the collecting barrel. But another thing that you notice, there is also a lot of air that has collected inside the barrel, which might actually be make it a bit difficult for you to pull in enough or more blood into the system. So what I will advise the team or my colleagues I'm working in, that I'm having a lot of blood, I want to remove or do air removal or priming, and I will ask the anesthesiology, kindly open to the air and close to the bag. And opening to the air meaning she will pull the off sign facing the blood bag, meaning we have locked the blood, and open to the air. And then I will slowly rotate my system to allow it to face up. It's just physics, to allow air to come up and liquid to go down, and then slowly push in. And at this time I've informed the surgeon that I am airing, or am I priming my device to remove, and off. You can actually feel the air coming out, and off the air is coming out completely, and I'm allowing it there. So my device is ready and I'm having enough blood. If the surgeon say there's more blood, I can pull in because now I have more space. Is there more blood?
There's more blood.
So there's more blood, I can continue pulling. I'll just rotate back and I'll inform my colleague, you can open to the back or leave the same way because I'm not pushing, and then continue collecting more blood into the system. As you can see now, I'm having more coming in, and I've had enough now on my system. We have a lot of blood in the collecting barrel. What I want to do is push this particular blood back to the bag. So I will talk to the anesthesiologist that I'm ready to push this blood to the bag. Please open to the bag and close to the air. And as I'm pushing, she will be rocking there. So maybe we can see yours so that somebody can see how the blood is coming in. So, yeah, slightly. So, if I know the blood is moving in, just rock it. So as she's rocking it, and she will still be informing me that how much he's going into the blood bag, and from there I can be able to either stop if, let's say I have I'm 3/4, yes, we are 3/4 full. Yeah. So if she feels that the bag is full, she can tell me, oh, my bag is full, I want to change to another bag, and we can easily stop. She's changed to another bag. When you want to change to the other bag, you can just close to the system, remove that bag. For instance, this particular, you will remove the bag, let's pull it out. And once you have enough, start your transfusion or put it on the side if you still have enough blood or more blood into the system to collect more and more in your blood bags. And after that, your patient can actually receive this blood safely. Since it doesn't need to be screened or anything, it is their own blood. There's no grouping and cross-matching. It is still their own blood. So it's the same group or any other group existing in the system will still be the same. Okay? Now, after the procedure, we actually discard all, thank you very much. Oh. I appreciate. So after the procedure, all the single-use devices will be discarded as highly infectious waste. So you will only take back the 4 items, which I say they're the 4 items of the pump, which are reusable. And this will go through the normal decontamination, whichever one you're using. If you're using an enzymatic decontamination process, automatic, enzymatic, or if you're using the 3 bucket or the 4 buckets decontamination process, you can still use that one now to have therefore those 4 particular devices being taken for sterilization at the CSST, the Central Sterilization Center. Thank you very much. So I think now we'll move from there because we have finished with the demonstration of the device.
Thank you so much, Dr. Asma, for that incredible demonstration. It's no small feat to do that via a webinar and via a camera and allow us to still see quite well how everything is going.
This particular, there are a lot of benefits for the use of the device, and you can find it has been used quite extensively currently, and you find most people talk about saving of life because that little blood, we know there's a lot of global shortage of blood. So this particular device gives you an option to ensure you save that particular life, even when you do not have blood. It also gives you an option to stop or not able. So you're not able to cancel your surgical procedures, which are very important because of lack of blood. So it can enable you to continue doing your elective surgeries because the blood is there. At the same time, this particular device also offers you more available blood for everyone. If I'm able to use my own blood, meaning I'm saving that 1 pint to somebody who might not be able to use their own blood. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much to Dr. Asma for the incredible demonstration of the Hemafuse system and its unparalleled benefits in surgical care. So up next is Tim Goodwin, who will take us through his vast experience and strategic vision within the journey of Hemafuse and whatever exciting prospects it holds.
Thank you so much, Nellie Ann. Thank you so much, Dr. Asma. Am I coming through clearly? Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Fantastic. Yeah, that was like I said, incredible product demonstration. And Nellie Ann and George, thanks for stepping in. And as you can tell, it takes minimal training to train surgical staff members how to operate Hemafuse. It's a good live, it's an example of what we find is a big positive to Hemafuse, and it's ease to use. Just in case you weren't here for the very beginning, just wanted to reintroduce myself briefly. My name is Tim Goodwin. I am the Business Development Manager for the medical device manufacturer Sisu Global Health. Sisu Global Health is dedicated to developing and manufacturing medical devices that address the unique needs of emerging markets, with Hemafuse being the first product that we have brought to market. I'd also just like to acknowledge that VIA Global Health has been one of our original partners, one of the first people that really understood and bought into the vision of what we were trying to do with Hemafuse. So thank you so much, Nellie Ann, George, Persis, and the wider team at VIA Global Health, who have been supporting us in making this success and this impact so possible. A little bit more about myself. I spent 3 years living in Nairobi, Kenya, in the glorious times before COVID, when we launched Hemafuse and began implementing it throughout the country. I now live in London in the UK, where I support our local distributors, our training teams, and our partners to lead our expansion into new countries. While Dr. Asma just gave us a fantastic product demonstration, I know we have a mix of people on the call that range from people who work in healthcare business, distribution, to healthcare workers. And so the goal of this presentation from my end is to do a little bit of a business case for Hemafuse, show the potential economic opportunity and the economic need that is there for Hemafuse, talk a little bit about the impact and commercial success that the partnership with Sisu and VIA Global Health has provided to date, and then talk about the opportunities for further expansion and impact that are available right now, and in fact are more viable and have more attention being put on them at a national and an international level than ever before. So George, if you don't mind sharing the slide to start. The slide 14 there, the next one. Perfect. So the title slide really says it all. Every 2 seconds, a patient needs blood. Whether that's a transfusion for a patient with anemia, a patient suffering from cancer undergoing treatment, an expectant mother who may have experienced a pregnancy complication, or even a trauma patient who has arrived in the emergency department. Good patient outcomes, and like Dr. Asma talked about, our first one and our major one here of saving lives, really is directly linked to timely access to high quality blood transfusions. Unfortunately, high quality blood transfusions aren't available for a large majority of the world's population. The data you see on my screen here is from the WHO's 2016 Global Status Report on Blood Safety. And they found that there was a shortage of 102 million units of blood, of donor blood globally per year. Now, this was before COVID. And living in the UK, being from the United States, 2 countries that have typically and historically had higher volumes of donor blood, with COVID, it has really upset the ecosystems of countries that have invested more and do have more resources in the blood collection sphere. So even like in the UK here, I like to watch football, and at halftime, there's a commercial that comes on every time saying, you know, my best 90 minutes were not on the pitch. My best 90 minutes were not, you know, playing football. My best 90 minutes was the 90 minutes I spent giving blood to support the NHS. And this is the global blood shortage has turned from a shortage that predominantly affects lower to middle income countries to affecting all of us and everyone. Now, that's not to say that, like in a lot of other issues as well, that countries that are on the lower economic end or on lower resource settings, they still experience a disproportionate, experience the shortage disproportionately. If we look at the WHO Africa statistics, this encompasses 46 countries across sub-Saharan Africa. They account for only 5% of the global donor blood donations, but account for 13% of the global population. The similar is found within WHO Southeast Asian countries, where 26% of the global population, and this was 2016, a point in which India was a relatively much smaller country than it is now, that 26% of the global population in 2016 only accounted for 15% of the total global donations for blood. And what I think is the most stark one is on the chart to the bottom right in figure 1. If we look to the very end, there is the 47% of donations globally for donor blood are found in high income countries, despite accounting for only 19% of the global population. This is one of the major missions of Sisu Global, and I think I can speak for VIA Global Health here too, is that our mission is to ensure good health and well-being and reduce inequalities in access to medical care for everyone. Next slide, please, George. Yep. And now this map on screen just really illustrates starkly what I was just talking about there. This shows the estimated blood supply through 100,000 people. And I'm going to go back to that statistic where we talked about 47% of annual blood donations are collected for only the wealthiest 19% of the population. And that need where the blood is least available is very strongly denoted in the red across sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia. Now, also, again, this is modeling, and the most recent modeling available was from 2011 through 2013, this data. So not only is the data showing a severe issue, it is outdated data. And in addition to being scarce, like Dr. Asma talked about earlier, donor blood also has significant limitations. One is the time it takes. It takes about 45 minutes to 1 hour to do the necessary testing, cross-matching, communication, and coordination to get a unit of blood from the laboratory to the operating theater. We had assisted in a case for a patient in Kenya at St. Francis Community Hospital. Patient came in, the team was great and recognized that this was a candidate for autotransfusion. They made the call down to the lab to request a unit of blood, but they also got Hemafuse assembled and began to use Hemafuse in the surgery. They were able to salvage 2 units of that patient's fresh whole blood, start transfusing that blood, and start finishing their surgical operation before the donor blood had even arrived from the lab. As a result, they were able to tell the lab, thanks, but no thanks. Our patient's been stabilized. We don't need this donor blood. And that donor blood was sent back to the lab to be made available for another patient. Dr. Asma referenced that earlier in her point about every pint that you can serve by getting your own blood back is a pint that's made available for somebody else. 2, there's also a significant risk to donor blood. While there have been great advances made in the last 50, 60 years to do on testing, cross-matching, etc., every country has the same issue of not being able to test for every disease, every possible disease. So there is always the risk, whether you live in the United States, or you live in China, or you live in Brazil, that there is a potential for disease transmission through donor blood, as well as by getting somebody else's blood, even typed cross-matched and disease-free, there is the potential for transfusion-related complications. 3rd is quality. Studies have shown that, proven actually, not just shown, and from researchers such as Dr. Stephen Frank at Johns Hopkins, they've proven that stored red blood cells undergo negative changes, which results in a reduced ability to deliver oxygen to tissue. As such, some of these studies have found that donor blood transfusion is associated with increased length of hospital stay and risk of postoperative infection, statistics that Dr. Asma also referenced in her talk earlier. So what does that all mean to me? What does that all say? Well, the ability to provide patients with immediate access to the highest quality blood transfusion, that being their own blood, is probably one of the greatest values that Hemafuse has been able to add and has resonated with hospitals and government healthcare systems in our initial markets and really helped us to push to a scale in our initial countries and allow us to expand to new countries. Next slide, please, George. Now, what does this all mean for the global economy and global well-being, this global donor blood shortage? Well, this quote from the top up here is from the American Red Cross, that blood is essential for surgeries, cancer treatment, chronic illnesses, and traumatic injuries. So there is some great modeling done by a coalition of researchers led by Dr. Nakul Rekar at Harvard's Program for Global Surgery and Social Change, done many years ago, that modeled access to surgery. And he modeled that access to surgery based on 4 criteria. 1 was timeliness, 2 was surgical capacity, 3 was safety, and 4 was affordability. And they found that based on this modeling and those parameters, almost 4.5 to 5 billion people don't have access to surgical care. and that is less than 5% of individuals who live in lower and middle income countries. Now, even if a patient can get to surgery and is able to access surgery, there is still the risk of that surgery being canceled. And the majority of canceled surgeries are due to facility-related factors, of which unavailability of blood is a major one. And so by analyzing all these factors, these researchers were able to come up with this modeling about the impact of GDP loss that is associated with this lack of access to surgery. The red graph is probably the condition treated most acutely by Hemafuse, and that's trauma or injury. So how many people experience trauma, experience injury that is left untreated due to their lack of access to surgical care? And what does that impact have cumulatively on countries' GDP and human output? Well, unfortunately, they found that the lack of access to surgery for people who have suffered injury, which will be projected to cost nearly $6 trillion by the year 2030. So not only do we see a massive impact at the hospital level and at the patient treatment level, but we also see a dramatic impact on the economic output and the economic health of nations. Now, next slide, please, George. So the good news is, in the face of all that bad news, is there are already solutions in place that exist and can help to mitigate the negative impacts of the global donor blood shortage. Autotransfusion, like Dr. Asma just told us all about, is one such solution, and it has been practiced in many forms in many countries for many years. For almost 100 years was the first documented case of autotransfusion. Now, different countries with different resources found different solutions. In higher income countries, the implementation in the 1970s and the 1980s of a mechanical cell salvage unit, or cell saver as it's colloquially called, is a sophisticated system that consists of a suction machine, a centrifuge, and other blood filtration and treatment facilities that does allow to perform autotransfusion the same way, in some ways, that Hemafuse does. However, these are for long planned surgeries. They're very complicated, some might say overcomplicated, in that they take 30 to 45 minutes to set up, and they required a specialized staff, such as a perfusionist who has been trained and is able to operate that cell saver. They are also expensive. The range for most of these equipment is $30,000 to $40,000 US for the capital equipment, and $400+ for the single-use consumables. Now, the good news for us is that there's another innovation out there, and that's Hemafuse, that's been designed for quick use anywhere there's a surgeon. So whereas the cell salvage and the traditional methods required a specially trained perfusionist, a device that took 35 to 45 minutes to set up and requires constant sources of electricity, Hemafuse can be used anywhere there's a surgeon. It can be assembled in about 3 minutes, is about what we've seen on average through over 1,000 use cases. It can be operated by any surgical staff, and anybody with a good working knowledge can be trained to do a demonstration of Hemafuse. And it's also affordable, coming in at a fraction of the price of those $30,000 to $40,000 machines. So with all of that, how is Hemafuse able to do that? And how are we sure that Hemafuse is able to be used anywhere there's a surgeon? Well, Hemafuse was designed in collaboration with clinicians and engineers from leading teaching hospitals and universities in Ghana to ensure it fit within the existing surgical systems of emerging markets. We then went on to pilot and implement Hemafuse in several other countries after receiving regulatory approval, and got the feedback from the initial users, from master trainers such as Dr. Asma, in order to develop our key Hemafuse benefits. It's easy to use, it's quick to assemble, and it's a fraction of the cost. You're right on, George. I'm ready for that next slide here. So referring back to what we talked about as some of those constraints that have prohibited almost 4.5 billion people from accessing surgery, I want to go ahead and share how Hemafuse addresses all of those. Timeliness. Well, Hemafuse is immediately available, and by immediately, it's about 3 to 4 minutes, but within 5 minutes you can have Hemafuse assembled, and you can have a fresh unit of fresh whole blood ready for transfusion. Surgical capacity. There's no need for specialized staff, and hospitals that have implemented Hemafuse report back that they're able to cancel fewer operations and conduct more surgical operations without an increase in their donor blood supply. For safety, well, let's go back to what Dr. Asma said in the beginning, which is that the safest form of blood available is your own blood. The other great thing about Hemafuse is it's the highest quality, that whole blood is the highest quality blood available. It's fresh, and because it has whole blood, it provides back the ideal composition for the different components of the blood, plasma, platelets, and clotting factors, when compared to blood salvage via Cell Saver or the $30,000 to $40,000 centrifuge option, which only gives back fresh red cells. And then finally, affordability. By implementing an autotransfusion program, it has been proven that you will not only that it is proven to be cost effective and provide savings across the hospital and healthcare system. So how have we been able to have such a great success with Hemafuse in the markets in which it's implemented? Well, first is using great partners such as Via Global Health and some of our other partners. The second has been the development and the creation of the Hemafuse training program. And with that, I'd like to send it back over to Dr. Asma to just give a brief overview about her work as a Hemafuse trainer and how that has been successful or been a key part of our success.
Good afternoon once again. So as a training consultant, what we do, we support both the distributor and the hospital in using the device. So for the distributor team, what we do, we ensure that that particular team is trained in understanding the Hemafuse device, assembling, benefits, and also operational of that device. So we do both virtual and also physical trainings to the cell team, so they're able to also talk to the people on the ground, and support them also when they go to the hospital. So we support the teams by creation of the training program. So we do have training programs virtually. There's also a mobile app, and we have physical training and simulation exercises so that they can gain that confidence and feel of how easy it is to use the device. We also give support throughout, both physically and virtually, whereby somebody can still reach us on understanding. Let's say you have a case and you're not so sure if it's indicated or there's any contraindication on that particular case. So we can always guide you on contraindication or why you should not use it, an indication why you should use, so that your patient is safe and you're also confident in using the device. Thank you. Back to you, Tim.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Asma. And one of the things that we put a real emphasis on at Sisu and with our partners at Via Global Health is developing training teams in the countries in which Hemafuse is in use, having local trainers who are knowledgeable, are experts in the field, and can provide the surgical teams with the confidence and the distributor to train distributor staff so they can be confident supporting and getting that new device used and into the theater's rotation and constant procurement cycle has been something that's been really crucial to our scaling. George, if I could just ask you to go back to the last slide previously quickly, please. Yep, perfect. So the overall, the resounding success of Hemafuse to date has been that on average, Hemafuse supplies 2 units of fresh whole blood per patient within minutes. This is across over 1,000 uses. We've seen these patients receive back their own blood. We've also seen donor blood that would have been used for those patients be saved and made available for other patients, leading to a knock-on or an exponential impact of Hemafuse. Now, focusing on some of these great benefits, the market penetration of Hemafuse to date has been successful sales direct to private, mission, and public hospitals, procurement by the central government procurement bodies such as KEMSA, tenders from the national governments that have found Hemafuse in their public hospitals provide such an impact. They've included it at short notice at tenders, and NGOs for use in humanitarian settings. And I just want to go back to this across all of our over 1,000 use cases. Hemafuse has supplied on average 2 units of fresh whole blood. And there are a plethora of studies that have examined and proved fresh whole blood as, quote, the preferred product for resuscitation of severe hemorrhage, and also found that it is independently associated with improved survival for patients across a wide range of clinical settings. In fact, the US military transfusion protocols state that fresh whole blood is the preferred blood transfusion for patients experiencing casualty on the casualty injuries. Go ahead and jump to the slide 21, please, George. We're going to skip that one. I'll go right back to it. Yep. Why do I bring up the military setting? Well, one of the most recent efforts we had for Hemafuse has been to implement Hemafuse in as humanitarian aid in Ukraine. When the conflict broke out in Ukraine back in the spring of 2020, we knew that as an organization, we wanted to get involved. We wanted to assist in some way. And we thought Hemafuse had the ability to make great impact as it's manually operated. So even in scenarios where you're doing field medicine or you're operating in an operating theater running on generators, Hemafuse is a manually operated solution that provides immediate blood back to the patient. In this effort, through some amazing work from some amazing partners on the ground, such as the charity For Wellbeing of Ukraine, there have been over 900 uses of date to Hemafuse on patients in Ukraine to save directly at least 900 lives. So we found, and we are at Sisu, we're so appreciative of our partners. We are looking to continue to expand this humanitarian outreach through partnerships with other NGOs to provide Hemafuse to places of conflict and places where it could be of great use. So maybe now we'll go back one slide, George, just up one, to talk about where has Hemafuse been and where do we see it going, and where might people who are on the call here today, may they see opportunity. Hemafuse is currently on the market in Ghana, Kenya, and Tanzania, and we do have exclusive distributors for those markets. However, we have every other country just about in the world is open and is available for incoming requests for Hemafuse to bring to your country. We also have US FDA 510K clearance for a single-use product that is the only difference is the same product. Differences are just in the packaging and labeling. We are in ISO 15, oh, I can't believe I just forgot this one. In ISO 13485, I say that all the time in my pitches, but Sisu is ISO 13485 certified, and we've recently received regulatory clearance in India as well, and are looking to find the right distributor to launch in the Indian market. So to sum that all up, I'll just ask George to go ahead and jump down to slide 22. So why is now the time to reach out and implement Hemafuse in your country? Well, not only is autologous blood transfusion proven to work, the donor blood shortage is having an increasingly negative impact on patient care, hospital efficiency, and global productivity loss. Hemafuse offers a quickly implementable solution that works within existing constraints, those same constraints I talked about that are preventing almost 5 billion people from accessing surgical care. Hemafuse is also resilient in that it is operated without electricity, it's manually operated, and it can be cleaned, and everything you need to use Hemafuse does not require electricity. And it not only replicates, but provides a better version of the best practice component therapy in resource-limited settings. So being able to take a concept that was previously only performed at the highest level of teaching referral in trauma centers, Hemafuse allows us to bring that to any rural hospital or anywhere there's a surgeon. And I think at that point, I'd like, there's my contact information, as well as you can reach out to the VIA team, VIA Global Health team, and they can feel free to share their contact information now as well. But that's how I want to end the presentation about the business case for Hemafuse, and turn it back over to our moderator.
Great. Thank you so much, Tim and Dr. Asma, for your incredible contributions to this conversation. And to our audience, I hope you can you can take that presentation and make it beneficial on your own end. And I hope you have questions for us. Please pop them into the chat. We already have a few that have already come in. So I think the first question will go to Tim. Outside of the cell savers, do you have any active competitor in the market at the moment?
Yeah, that's a great question. In terms of active competitors in the market, I'm not aware of products that are on the market in Kenya or Ghana or similar that do that. I know there are innovations taking place in the blood transfusion sphere, but I believe they are more closely aligned with the blood product that is provided via cell salvage than the Hemafuse providing the fresh whole blood. As far as I'm aware, there is not another device or option out there to provide fresh whole blood from intraoperative autotransfusion. Dr. Asma may be able to correct me if there's a device I'm not aware of, but for fresh whole blood, it is Hemafuse.
Okay, thank you. So a question for Dr. Asma. What are the contraindications to the use of the Hemafuse system?
So I can actually explain it. So we have indication for the use, which is any surgical procedure where we have massive bleeding or hemorrhage and collection of that particular blood in a site is an indication for use of the device. But in a nutshell, anything that will interfere with the quality of blood or compromise the safety of the patient, usually that comes in as a contraindication. Now, this contraindication are actually divided into two. Remember, there's an absolute contraindication whereby we say do not use because definitely the patient safety will be compromised. And then we have a relative contraindication where the surgical team makes the best decision for the client, meaning you're looking at the benefit of this particular client getting the blood vis-a-vis the risk of this particular client not getting the blood. So we have several contraindications. Let me take an example. In absolute contraindication, I'll tell you, if your client has sickle cell anemia and you are fully aware this particular client on my surgical bed is a sickler or a sickle cell anemic client, then I will advise you do not give this particular blood back to the patient, simply because you might actually provoke sickle cell crisis and compromise the safety of your patient. And for instance, issues like a patient in use of Hemafuse, amniotic fluid. We know amniotic fluid, there's that small chance of you getting an amniotic embolism if this particular blood mix with the amnio or with liquor or amniotic fluid. So if you are fully aware that there's amnio fluid in that particular blood, we will also advise you do not use the Hemafuse because of that risk of first having an embolism, an amniotic embolism, or due to the lytic enzymes that are within that the liquor or the amniotic fluid that might cause lysing of the red cell, overwhelming the liver and putting your patient or compromise the safety of patient. The relative contraindication where the surgical team makes a decision. Let's say I've done my bedside evaluation of my client and I realize this particular client is a bit febrile or has a bit warmth in their body, or I'm aware that this particular client, the respiratory rates are a bit high or a bit elevated, or the pulse rate is a bit, and I'm suspecting this particular client might be having a bacterial infection. But my client really does need this blood, and without this blood, my client's safety is compromised. So I will definitely give that particular blood, though I know we might actually be having an infection within that blood, and cover my client post-surgically with an antibiotic that's needed or with the proper treatment, so that client can still benefit from getting the blood, and we treat what is already existing. So we have relative where you make the decision, and these are all in details in our training package where we go through them and advise and support the hospital or the distributor team on how to identify and come to that decision. I hope I've answered that question.
Yes, brilliant. Thank you so much, Dr. Asma. For you, Tim, are you able to elaborate any training material or documents that potential buyers are able to go through?
Yes, absolutely. So I think that's a great segue into kind of what my call for action might be for a distributor. So if you are a distributor and you're somebody who has a healthcare importation company and you've heard about Hemafuse, please feel free to reach out to the team at Via Global Health to discuss the options for purchasing either a demonstration or a training kit. They can work with you to find out which might work best for your market. Or if you were so sold by Dr. Asma's presentation on Hemafuse, you can also proceed straight to inquiring about clinical product with the Via Global Health sales staff. Both purchase of the demonstration or training kit, which we say is non-clinical, so it can't be used in surgery, or the clinical product, all available for purchase via the Via Global Health website or a further engagement with the Via Global Health team. All comes with access to our Hemafuse training curriculum. So the Via Global Health team will help onboard you to the online e-learning course we have, as well as introduce you, if necessary, to Hemafuse Trainer or myself to talk more through the training support that you need. So if you are a distributor, you have really liked what you heard, you're really sold on what you heard, please reach out to the Via Global Health team to purchase clinical product, and we'll talk about the next steps with there. The other option is to purchase non-clinical, non-registration needed demonstration or training kits, which also come with complete access to the Hemafuse training curriculum and Hemafuse training team support.
Great. Thank you so much, Tim, for that. Are there any other certifications that the Hemafuse system is pursuing outside those listed?
Yes, so there are several on some new countries we are exploring entering into. However, as of right now, and we are mostly based on if there is new country interest, which requires regulatory registration, we will work with them, that company, to identify that. The other one that we are considering as a longer term goal of the country is to also get CE mark. However, as a US manufactured and US based company, US manufacture and export, we prioritize the US FDA clearance.
Okay, brilliant. Another question from the audience is, can the device be integrated with any other medical equipment?
Ooh, that's a great question. What did they give any specifics about the other medical equipment, Nellian?
No specifics.
That would be a great question to reach out to Dr. Asma or the team at Via Global Health with to talk about what other kind of medical systems. It works well within an existing surgical setup, so you just bring in Hemafuse instead of the suction machine. But Dr. Asma, maybe you have a view as to what else they might be referring to here.
I think I'd also want to hear what exactly is the other equipment, because for equipment to be operational with another equipment, you need to understand which other equipment and how they can be linked together. I know I've had a discussion with a team from Hemoclear where they thought they do have a filtering device, but no collecting parts. So I think this is a discussion that team need to be discussed once you understand which device somebody is talking about for integration.
Agreed.
Oh. So when I get more details around that. And lastly, what's the expected shelf life of the device and its components?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there is no shelf life. The shelf life for the pump is a little bit different than the shelf life for the filter and accessory kits. The pump, like Dr. Asma mentioned, is reusable, so it can be reused up to 25 times. So what we do is we provide you with one Hemafuse system, comprises of one pump with 25 of the reusable single-use, or 25 of the single-use filter and accessory kits. The shelf life or the sterilization validity of the filter and accessory kits are 3 years. So once sterilized, the filter and accessory kits have 3 years to be used. And that'd be great if you are worried or you've got some questions about that. Be a great thing to reach out to the VIA Global Health team with, and they can help you analyze based on hospital use, volume of patients. Because Dr. Asma can share that at some hospitals, a Hemafuse full pack can be used up in a month or two, right? Depending on the type of hospital and the volume seen.
Okay, great. I think that's all for our questions. Unless you have any additional remarks to add in, Dr. Asma, Tim?
So I don't think I have anything, but this device is actually one of the, I would say it's a magical device that has actually worked wonders to ensure that people get their surgery at the proposed or the needed time, and they can access that blood without fear and be safe. We've seen a lot of patients accessing, personally, I've seen a lot of patients accessing blood through Hemafuse, and you get the successful stories of them leaving the hospital and going home better and fast healing. So I think that's all I can say, and thank you very much. We welcome you in Sisu, and once you are using the device, you'll probably see a lot of me.
Yes. It does look like we had somebody raise their hand, George. I don't know if you see that. Ernest Boake had raised their hand, but now looks like they lowered it and they've left. So, oh, they're back. I don't know if there's ability if they're back, but just saw that. But I think, yeah, I think Dr. Asma, you summed it up really well, and I'd just like to thank the team at VIA Global Health for their support and their assistance in partnership to allow us to have the impact that we've had. And thank the healthcare clinicians, the hospitals, everybody that saw the need, wanted to do something about it, and viewed Hemafuse as a solution just like we do. So thank you so much to everybody who has used Hemafuse, everybody who supported Hemafuse, and everybody who at the VIA Global Health team who made this possible, and you as well, Dr. Asma.
Okay. I actually have a personal question. We've seen very many religious movements be very against blood transfusions. So is the Hemafuse applicable in such a scenario?
Yes, so that is another great kind of niche, great use for Hemafuse. I know that Jehovah's Witnesses are one such large population that does not accept donor blood transfusions. I can't speak for everybody, but one of our key members to the Hemafuse team in Ghana is a Jehovah's Witness and was really spurred to bring Hemafuse into Ghana to help solve the issue that faces the Jehovah's Witness population in Ghana. And so yes, as Jehovah's Witness populations that we've engaged with and partners who are Jehovah's Witnesses have said that receiving your own blood back, and the guidance from the community on that is receiving your own blood back is great. It's totally fine. It is somebody else's blood that is unacceptable or not preferred.
Great. All right, so thank you so much for actively participating in today's webinar. If you're interested in learning more about the Hemafuse system or exploring this further, there's a link in the chat box that just links you to the Sisu page on the VIA Global Health website. And a sales rep from our side will be in touch if you have any questions. And just at the back of your head, remember that the VIA Global Health team is committed to providing transparent solutions to access essential medical devices and equipment globally. We want to thank Dr. Asma and Tim from Sisu Global Health for their valuable time and contributions today. And we extend our gratitude to all the participants who've joined us today with all your questions and just your mere presence. And as we continue as a company to bridge the gap in global healthcare, we invite you to stay connected with us, explore future webinars where we discuss innovation solutions that are applicable in the healthcare industry. Healthcare is a basic human right, regardless of location or budget, and together we can make a difference. So thank you so much and have a wonderful day, depending on where your day is at, and have a wonderful evening.